Chapter 30. When they got aboard, the king went for me and shook me by the collar and says, "Trying to give us the slip, was ye, you pup? Tired of our company, hey?" And I says, "No, your majesty, no, we weren't. Please don't, your majesty." "Quick then, tell us what was your idea, or I'll shake the insides out of you." "Honest, I'll tell you everything just as it happened, your majesty. The man that had a hold of me was very good to me and kept saying that he had a boy about as big as me that died last year. He was sorry to see a boy in such a dangerous fix. And when they was all took by surprise by finding the gold and made a rush for the coffin, he lets go of me and whispers, 'Heal it now, or they'll hang you sure.' And I lit out. It didn't seem no good for me to stay. I couldn't do nothing. And I didn't want to be hung if I could get away. So I never stopped running till I found the canoe. When I got here, I told Jim to hurry, or they'd catch me and hang me yet. And I said I was feared you and the Duke wasn't alive anyhow. And I was awful sorry. And so was Jim. And we was powerful glad when we see you coming. You may ask Jim if I didn't." But Jim, he said it was so. The king told him to shut up. And then says, "Oh yes, it's mighty likely," and shook me up again. And he said he reckoned he'd drown me. But the Duke says, "Let go of the boy, you old idiot. Would you have done any different? Did you inquire around for him when you got loose? I don't remember it." So the king, he let go of me and begun to cuss that town and everybody in it. But the Duke says, "You better blame sight give yourself a good cussing too, for you're the one that's most entitled to it. You ain't done a thing from the start that had any sense in it, except for coming out so cool and cheeky with that imaginary blue arrow mark. That was bright. It was downright bully. And it was the thing that saved us. For it hadn't been for that, they'd have jailed us till them Englishmen's baggage come. And then, the penitentiary, you bet. But that trick took 'em to the graveyard. And the gold done us still a bigger kindness. For if the excited fools hadn't all got holts and made a rush for it to take a look, we'd have slept in our cravats tonight. Cravats warranted to wear, too. Longer than we'd need 'em." They was still a minute, thinking, and then the king says, kind of absent-minded, "Humph. And we reckon the slaves stole it." Well, that made me squirm. "Yes," says the Duke, kind of slow and deliberate, sarcastic. "We did." After about half a minute, the king drawls out, "Leastways, I did." The Duke says the same way. "On the contrary, I did." The king kind of ruffles up and says, "Looky here, Bilgewater, what are you referring to?" And the Duke, he says pretty quick, "Well, when it comes to that, maybe you'll let me ask you what you was referring to." "Well, shucks," says the king, very sarcastic. "But I don't know. Maybe you was asleep, and you didn't know what you was about." The Duke, he bristles up now and says, "Oh, let up on his cussed nonsense. Do you take me for a plain fool? Don't you reckon I knowed it was who hid that money in that coffin?" "Yes, sir. I know you do know, because you done it yourself." "It's a lie." And the Duke went for him. And the king sings out, "Take your hands off me. Let go of my throat. I take it all back. Let go." The Duke, he says, "Well, you just own up first that you did hide that money, intending to give me the slip one of these days and come back and dig it up and have it all to yourself." "But just a minute, Duke. Answer me this one fair question, honest. If you didn't put the money there, say it, and I'll believe you. I'll take back everything I said." "You old scoundrel, I didn't, and you know I didn't. There now." "Well then, I believe you. But only answer me just this once more. Now don't get mad. Didn't you have it on your mind to hook the money and hide it?" Well, the Duke, he never said nothing for a little bit. But then he says, "Well, I don't care if I did. I didn't do it anyway. But you not only had a mind to do it, you done it. I wished I'd never die if I'd done it, Duke, and that's honest. I won't say I weren't going to, because I was. But you, somebody got in ahead of me. It's a lie. You done it. And you got to say you done it. Or, and the king began to gurgle as he gasps out, because the Duke still had his hands around his throat. Enough, enough. I own up. I was very glad to hear him say that. It made me feel much more easier than what I was feeling before. So the Duke took his hands off and says, if you ever deny it again, I'll drown you. It's well for you to sit there and blubber like a baby. It's fitting for you, after the way you've acted. I never see such an old ostrich for one to gobble everything up. And I trusted you all the time like you was my own father. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. Stand by and hear it saddle on a poor lot of slaves like that. And you never say a word for 'em. Makes me feel ridiculous to think I was soft enough to believe that rubbish. Cuss you? I can see now why you was so anxious to make up the deficit. You wanted to get that money. And I'd have got out, the money that I'd have got out of the nonsuch, and one thing or another, and scoop up it all. Well, the king says, kind of timid and still snuffling, why, Duke, it was you that said make up the deficit. Weren't me. Dry up. I don't want to hear no more out of you, says the Duke. And now I see what you got by it. They've got all their own money back, and all of ourn, but a shekel or two besides. Go along to bed. Don't you deficit me no more deficits, long as you live. So the king, he sneaked into the wigwam and took to his bottle for comfort. Before long, the Duke tackled his bottle, and so, in about half an hour, it was thick as thieves again. And the tighter they got, the loveringer they got, they went off a-snoring in each other's arms. They both got powerful mellow, but I noticed the king didn't get mellow enough to forget to remember not to deny hiding the money bag again. That made me feel easy, satisfied. Of course, when they got to snoring, we had a long gabble, and I told Jim everything.